the crime drama TV series Breaking Bad, the movie Escape from Alcatraz, starring Clint Eastwood, and an iconic Seinfeld episode. Buckle on up, as we're about to hear from the actor who appeared in all three.
Welcome to the Motivation Show podcast, where we interview remarkable world-class experts that help bring out the greatness within you. Top book authors, super successful business people, and outstanding special guests that will motivate and inspire you with their incredible, uplifting stories and life-changing tips and strategies. Our goal is your success. If you desire more out of life, you've dialed into the right show. So fasten your seatbelts, friends, and let's get ready for some high-octane motivation. Now, your host, the mayor of motivation, Eli Marcus.
Our guest on the Motivation Show today has appeared in 184 movies and TV shows. That is insane. He has done it all in Hollywood, including appearing in Escape from Alcatraz with Clint Eastwood, to appearing in Breaking Bad. And then there was that iconic Seinfeld episode in which he was the unforgettable classic main character. So I want to welcome to the Motivation Show, Larry Hankin.
How you doing, Eli?
Larry, life couldn't be any better. And you know
cool.
why?
Well, for me, it could be a lot better, but
really?
Let's not get into that. I haven't been out of the house and not wearing a mask in it seems like years. I live in a city where everybody's wearing a mask. Looks like I'm living in a city of bank robbers. It's amazing.
So, Larry, you've been hunkered down there since COVID, right? You haven't left your apartment too much, but you know something? That can be turned into a positive. And I have a feeling a guy like you turned it into a positive. Tell me how you turned that into a positive.
I wrote 2 screenplays.
Well, there you go. Most people, how long does it take to write one screenplay? A year, right?
It takes about a year. I did it in 6 months, two shifts. But wow, man, my fanny is hurting.
And take us through your early days, because obviously you got a great sense of humor, and your early days was as a comedian. Tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, well, my comedian days, I went to college and I graduated as an industrial designer. I took physics, I took math, I took all that stuff because I wanted to be a good son.
It's a perfect segue into being a comic. There you go.
Well, it was the rebellion, but I went all the way through college, 5 years. It was a 5-year course. But I got a degree in industrial design. And then after that, I said, okay, I did my stuff for my parents. I'm running away from home now at what, 18 or 19? I don't know. That took me a while, but then I didn't even go to my graduation. I mean, I just wanted to get out of there, man. I mean, learning is very hard and difficult. And if you're not learning stuff you like, forget it. So, which I did. So then I became, so Carl Gottlieb, you know who Carl Gottlieb is? Is anybody familiar with? Carl Gottlieb wrote Jaws.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. Oh, wow. So in Syracuse University, I ran into Carl and we just hit it off just immediately, became fast friends. So when we graduated at the same time, he said he was going to go to Greenwich Village and become a writer. I mean, he wanted to be a writer from the get-go. So he had been writing in college. The way I hooked up with him was he had an opinion piece in the Daily Orange, the Syracuse University newspaper, and he would attack everything. I mean, he was a satirist, but even he was a vicious satirist. So some of the stuff wasn't even funny. It was just an attack. That's his forte. He is a really smart, funny guy. So he was doing that, but he garnered all the people he attacked, the teachers, the marching band, the football team. I mean, you know, the holy grail of colleges, the professors. And they wanted to fight him and pass him down and send him to the kidnapper. Here's how bad he was, or how great he was to me.
Tell me how bad he was.
Yep. Tell me, he was hung in effigy from a lamppost in the square and burned in effigy.
Oh my goodness, he was bad.
That's pretty bad.
Yeah.
Cool to me. So when we graduated, he said he was going to go to Greenwich Village and become a writer. And I said, he said, why don't you come with me? We'll be roommates. And I didn't want to be an industrial designer. I mean, I was a, A student, stuff like that. I got thrown out twice and still got A's. But I just I was up to here with pleasing my parents,
There's not a lot of comedy in industrial design, Larry. So I'm glad
No,
you took
there isn't.
a little shift into another direction.
Yeah, so we went to Greenwich Village. I just eschewed industrial design. I
Yeah.
was offered, like hundreds of thousands of dollars to work in General Motors designing cars. I mean, I was sought after,
Hmm.
but I just didn't want to do it. So I went to Greenwich Village and just became his roommate. And I swabbed duck boards behind the bar after closing time, after last call, from 2 in the morning, 2:30, until about 6 when the cooking crew came in, the chef came in. It was a bar and grill. So he would let me out. And the only way I could eat, I wasn't making enough to cover the rent. Carl was covering it for me. I made a couple of bucks, swabbing and cleaning up. I don't want to see another peanut shell as long as I live.
Not on the floor.
I'm sweeping up but so what I would be doing is I would clean up the bar, and about 5 o'clock, 5:30 a.m. I would go into the where they kept the food, mainly the rashers of bacon and canned foods, and I would always walk in to work with a raincoat on, a la Harpo Marx,
Yeah.
Steve, all the spoons and stuff.
Yeah,
And the
yeah.
stuff he had. Well, that's where I got the idea. Like,
The horn that he had
is right
hidden in
on.
there, right? Beep beep. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I didn't have a horn. I didn't want to tell anybody, but yeah. And so I would put this stuff in there, and I would always wait by the door when the chef had to let me out. They locked the door from the outside, so I couldn't get out. I don't know. So people couldn't get in. I don't know why they did that, but I couldn't get out until the chef let me out. And so I guess I couldn't let people in or something like that. So the chef would open the door, and as he opened the door, because I didn't want him to see me with the raincoat stuffed, I was afraid he would see some bulge or something. I would stuff the bacon in the back so it would be flat in my belt, and I would just go out the door. How you doing, Si? Out. So, but I had to stop that after 2 weeks because I was afraid they started to count the food, and they would see that it was missing. So I quit after 2 weeks. I had a store of food for a couple of days. That was all. And so I had to get a job. And the only job available was, it wasn't a job, but I used to hang out in coffee shops in Greenwich Village until I had to go to work at 2 a.m. So the only thing free was open mic nights. So open mic nights were Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and then the weekend was.
Do you remember the venues that you were?
Oh yeah,
in?
the Cock and Bull was the big one, and then there was the Night Owl, which is where Dylan was.
Yeah,
that was only music, and then the weird thing was everybody who and grew up with. I'm talking about you, Eli, who we grew up and sang the songs and were
everybody played the Village,
was there.
Right? Everybody,
was there while
right.
I was there.
Yeah, Joan Baez, Dylan, all of them. Yeah,
Dylan.
Yeah,
Frank Zappa. I used to on my sometimes about 10 o'clock before going to the bar or going to an open mic night, or if there wasn't one, I would just right across the street from Cock and Bull was a theater that was closed. It wasn't used; it was vacant. So Frank Zappa would rent it to rehearse there at night with the Mothers of Invention. And he would just leave the door open. Anybody walking on the street could come in and listen to the rehearsals. And he would just do ragas for most of the rehearsal. He would just play for like 20 minutes, just as long. But I would sit there and listen, and I didn't know, Frank Zappa, who the hell knows Frank Zappa? Oh, wow, that guy, yeah. Or Dylan, I would walk out on Dylan, and then, later I became, holy cow, this guy's a genius. But I used to, because in the beginning he wasn't, I didn't think he was a great singer. Everybody else did because of the words, but I wasn't listening.
You know, it's amazing, Larry,
Brilliant.
at the time, some of these people, they're just people, from the present
Yeah,
time. In retrospect, you look back and like, oh my God, what an iconic
yeah.
era. I mean, there'll never be a time like that in Greenwich Village again or any place
No, I
where
was
you
like,
had, yeah.
I was thinking like it was like Montmartre during the Impressionist period, where you had Van Gogh and Picasso and all those people hanging out in the coffee houses, and they would sign their check with their names, say someday this will be famous, you'll be rich. Yeah, I mean, I was thinking that during the time. I said, this must have been like what Montmartre was, for the Impressionists. But yeah, everybody was there. I mean, Sam Shepard was there, and Dylan, and the Mamas and the Papas were there
Oh, wow.
separately.
Yeah.
Cass was there,
Mama
and
Cass.
Mama Cass was there. She was
Yeah.
singing. Yeah, she was checking coats and
Oh my
the
God.
upstairs at the downstairs. I
Oh
would
my
come in
God.
and she would check my coat, and we
Wow.
would sit there and talk until I went on, because we had the same kind of.
And it was probably on a Monday, right?
Yeah. So they were right. Who knew that we were all there together? I mean, you just named them and they were there, So
Yeah.
it was an amazing time, but you just trying to make a living, doing Monday
Yeah.
nights. But Monday night saved me, because the great thing about Monday night audiences, they're different from all other audiences. They know it's a Monday night and it's free and everything is cheaper then, and nobody's getting paid. So, they pass the hats. All right, here's 50 cents, $1. But they would sit, because you only had a time. You only had 3 to 5 minutes in those days. I think now you have 10 minutes maybe. But you had 5 minutes, you get on the stage. So they knew that even if this guy or girl stunk, a singer, a folk singer, a comedian, it's only 5 minutes. They'll be on, and maybe the next one will be really great. So they wouldn't boo or anything. They would just sit there with their, half-price coffee, just, like that. And then
Stone-faced.
well, no, there was no judgment. That was the key.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So in other words, they allowed me the grace of being bad until I got better.
Yes.
Because I was at 5 minutes, blah, blah. And once I started, now I was really awful. I have recordings of me doing that stuff. There was no laughter in what I was doing. It was just silliness.
But they didn't tear you apart. They let you do what you had to
No,
do.
they just sat there.
Wonderful.
And they, until the next guy came on.
Yeah.
But within 6 months, because of their graciousness, I was opening for Woody Allen and Miles Davis.
Wow.
So my learning curve was very steep.
Wow,
because I was a funny guy in high school. I've always been a funny guy. It's just being funny guy for an audience who is sitting there wanting to, and being on stage, and it's formal, it's real. That takes a little learning,
Larry, I got to ask you, because you said something that was very profound. You said that you were giving up hundreds of thousands of dollars potentially in your other field. Yeah. And here you are working for Bupkis on a stage, honing your craft.
Yeah.
Did you, for a minute, regret or think that maybe you made the wrong decision?
I never. Once I left and I said, I'm going to Greenwich Village with with Carl Gottlieb, I never thought about industrial design until somebody would bring it up years later.
So you were willing to give up a ton of money to go after.
I still am. I still do.
Gotcha. That's a great lesson.
Not my thing.
That's an incredible lesson, because so many people chase the money.
It frees you up, man. Now, there's a price to pay for that. If I, I support myself in this apartment here by my work in show business, which I love, being a funny person and acting and stuff like that. But if that goes away, because I'm getting older and my hair is gray and blah, blah, blah. And,
you look distinguished, Larry.
Well, but thank you very much. But that has nothing to do with my money. So if the money runs out, I will have to do something else, or scramble or starve. Or I lived in my car for a year because I wanted to see what homeless people did. I wanted to write about homeless people. And so I just eschewed my salary to live in a car for a year to see what that was like. And I lived off a little of my savings. But no, I mean, money is not a motivator for me. And I other things are that pay the rent. Look, it's very important to pay the rent. I'm not saying, fuck all. I'm not saying that. I'm saying, do I, and I'm not even saying you, I'm saying me. I only do what I want to do.
That's good.
That's it. That's the rule for me. I don't know if it'll work for anybody else. It works for me because when I was sitting in my car, living alone, living in my car, when it was raining outside and I was hungry, and the roof is leaking, or this window was broken, and so the wind is coming in. I have no recourse as, this, or why didn't I do that? No, man. You say, yeah, but there's rewards for me doing this.
Larry, if Steven Spielberg or George Lucas came up to you with a great role, but it didn't resonate with you, but it paid a fortune, do you take the role?
There's a proviso there. That's you don't know what you just asked me, so I'm going to tell you what you just asked me. I'm dyslexic. Okay. Now, I don't know if you know what dyslexic is, but it affects my thinking. And mainly in me, because dyslexia affects different people different ways, it affects my deep memory. So it's very, very, very hard for me to memorize lines. So I can memorize a page. I can memorize 2 pages, but if it's a monologue on 1 page, there's in my contract, it says you have to send me the script as soon as possible. I get it. I'm the first one to get the script. So I have lead time to memorize. So if Francis Ford Coppola comes up to me and says, I'm going to give you $100,000 to do this part, my first question is, how big is the role? That's my first question. If he says, you got a lot of speeches in it, I have to figure, okay, $100,000 to memorize a lead role. That would be like a lead role or a co-star role in a Coppola movie. I would have to figure out, I would read the script, figure out how long it would take me to memorize the entire script, or, for each day and blah, 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 the lead time I would need. And then I would say yes or no. And if I couldn't figure out the lead time, like it would take me, Mr. Coppola, how long do I have to take by the time I get the first script to the time you're going to shoot me? 2 months. I don't think I could do that. I'm sorry, I have to turn it down. Or you give me enough money and I can get a coach maybe, and maybe I could do it in 2 months and I accept it. So my dyslexia is the thing that determines whether I take a role or not.
Oh, great answer.
And so if I can memorize it in time, if they give me the lead time or enough money to pay a coach to help me, I'll take it. And if not, I don't. And I've done that many, many times in my life.
Gotcha. So it's just dyslexia, not your pockets, that will make that determination.
And my desire, my passion.
And your desire. So you mentioned a pretty iconic person there, Woody Allen, that you opened for him. Tell me a little bit about maybe what you would have picked up or learned from being an opening act for some of those people.
Because of my dyslexia as a child, see, I've had it, I was born with it. So I've had it all my life. But when I was born, there was no such thing as dyslexia. There's no such thing as OCD. There's no such thing as a lot of mental, challenges. So I didn't learn I had dyslexia, that it was, this is what this is, and this is what I have, and it's called this, and this is what it does, until I was in my late 20s, early 30s. And even when I found out, I have dyslexia, that's why this happens to me. It wasn't until a couple of more years before I learned what my options were, or how I could get around it or deal with it or cope with it, and learned that. So late in life that I started to realize what my challenges really were. By then, I kind of was solidified in my life choices. I mean, when you're 36, there's not much you can change about your life, but I worked at it really hard because I saw that I was being held back now by this challenge, that my other contemporaries were moving ahead a lot faster and I wasn't keeping up.
Did it give you any advantages, you feel, dyslexia?
Yeah, creatively. I think I'm one of the funniest guys around.
And a lot of other people would agree with you, particularly on some of these shows that we're going to get into in a minute.
But I also know that dyslexia affects mainly the left brain, which is kind of the artistic side. Dyslexia features in everything I do. Even my girlfriends, I mean, how I relate, not my girlfriends, but people, how I relate to people. I'm extremely shy because I make a lot of mistakes. I misinterpret.
You're shy?
Oh, I'm terribly. A
You?
girlfriend once told me, yeah, a girlfriend once told me I am I'm an extroverted introvert.
Yes,
She said that. She
I can
said,
relate.
"Oh, you're an
Yes.
introverted extrovert."
Yeah.
So one on one, if we're friendly, if there's no danger to me or my dyslexia, I'm cool. I'm open. I'm very very childlike. I'm a wow. But if you say something and I misinterpret it, I'm open, man. You can do that like in an instant. So sometimes I'm just like,
But
caught.
Larry, how do you go into rehearsal, which is the ultimate, like, to me, fear situation? It's do or die as an introvert, and nail it.
Well, I don't in the beginning. So well, I'll give you an example. I did a very important play called The Servant and His Master, written by Kundera, very famous French playwright. But an actor got the rights to it to do it in America. And the premiere opening American play was done in Los Angeles, and I was cast as the co-lead with another actor. Very important play, very big part. I didn't understand my dyslexia at the time about how much I could learn in a certain given time, rehearsals. And so I said yes, which was, I didn't know, very dangerous for me to do because I didn't understand my dyslexia. It's a huge part, and I couldn't memorize it during rehearsal. And I just stuck with it because I didn't know what else to do. And I didn't know it was dyslexia. I just couldn't memorize my lines. I would go out onto the jetties on the beach here and shout my lines out into the ocean. People thought I was nuts, just trying to get it loud enough for my inner memory to hear it. I mean, I was doing all kinds of weird stuff to memorize. And the other lead, my co-star in that, hated me. We would get into fist fights. No, I mean, we wouldn't get into the fist fights, but people would hold us back from getting into fist fights. I mean, challenge all, hey, come on, all right, you this. And then when Simon, the director, pulled me aside out of rehearsal, in the middle, he said, "Larry, I want to talk to you." And he would pull me aside, but he shouted at me. So everybody heard it anyway. Just, "You've got to learn your lines. This is very important." And I can go on and on for the 2 months that I was in rehearsal.
How does it?
That was when I was young.
Yeah. What I want to, how does a shy guy who has dyslexia decide to do the ultimate challenge, which is to do TV shows, films? Wouldn't it have been easier for you to not do that and not make yourself vulnerable? What inspired you, motivated you, despite your challenges?
Fear. Basically, it's fear. And I'll tell you what that is. I was a stand-up comedian, and that's what I wanted to do. And I was doing what
the
I
ultimate fear for most people, but that's the ultimate fear.
Well, no, that wasn't the fear. I had a little stage fright in the beginning, but it's opening mic night. So the fact that they sat there for 5 minutes and made no judgment just washed away the fear, because there was nothing to be afraid of. These, they weren't coming at me. They weren't booing. They weren't making a judgment. So there was, after a while, so, oh, these people are nice people. It's not me. It's fine. I don't have to be funny for them.
What was your level of self-confidence at that point?
As I saw the audience were accepting me, their silence and non-judgmental was to me acceptance. Because my parents were just judgmental like crazy. That's a terrible burden to lay on a kid. So when they just accepted me, I relaxed. And as I relaxed, because I was funny to begin with, there was no reason why I shouldn't be funny on stage. I was funny to my friends outside, off stage. I got on and I froze. So they relaxed me, and within 6 months, I'm opening for Woody Allen, and I had his manager, and I was equal to him. In the beginning, we were just starting, both of us. But I would open for him and blah, blah, blah. What happened was I started to understand the power of comedy and satire and why I loved being a comedian. And that was because I could attack sacred cows. And the reason I loved attacking sacred cows is that's what got the biggest laughs. If I attacked religion, politics, big laughs. If I talked about my mom at the time, now it's different. I'm talking about then. Mom, family, I got a family, I got a. Okay, now you can get into the psychology of families. Now comedians are talking about their families like Sam Levinson used to and Myron Cohn used to, but now they get into it deep where it is satire and it is cutting and it is vicious, you know, but okay, back then. So I got into satire and then I started opening for the big acts where I had really big audiences, not for me, but for the opener, like, for the stars, like Miles Davis. Miles Davis, they loved me. They loved me attacking religion and politics and everything you can't talk about at the
right
dinner
audience,
table.
right message. Go ahead. Yeah.
And then I started opening for the Kingston Trio. And they started coming at me with beer bottles upside down. Get the fuck off the stage and give me the Kingston Trio. Not my audience.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I got it. But
too vanilla for you, maybe. The audience.
Yeah, or too chocolate for them, you know, or too raspberry or pepper. I don't know. But the thing was that it started to get to me. The rioting. There was rioting in the audience because I was opening for rock and roll shows now, Love and Spoonful. And they were the kids. This is college kids, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. That's what I was talking about. They would pull the wooden armrests off of their arena seats and throw them at me.
Wow.
So, you know, the first 2 or 3 rows would be thrown, and the Love and Spoonful in the audience, in the wings saying, keep going, keep going. They're booing, man. Get off the stage, bring on the Love and Spoonful. No, they wanted a riot. They wanted the publicity. So they would say, no, stay up there. And cops would come in and pull me off the stage. And right before the cops pulled me off the stage, I saw in the back, because they had the arena lights on all the time, you know, for rock and roll shows, so lights on all the time. I could see in the guys in the back, when these guys in the front, no girls would throw anything. The guys in it ran out of armrests. And the fifth row back was too far to throw. So the guys in the back were pulling off their armrests and passing them down. That's how much they hated me.
What did that do to your psyche?
Oh, I loved it.
Okay.
I loved it. I loved it because, wow. And here's the other thing. When I went like this, I said, okay, I'll stop. I don't understand why you kids, this is sex, drugs, rock and roll, and you're college kids, and it's a rock and roll show. Why are you booing me? Is this a sex, drugs? They shut up and listen to me. And as soon as they shut up and listened to me, I said, okay, now I'm going to go back into the act. Okay, so here we go, blah, blah, blah. Boom, boom. And they started throwing me. And that's when the cops came and pulled me off. What did it do to my psyche? I loved it, but I hated it. Not because of rejection, because I knew I was funny, man, by then. I mean, you know, I've been doing it for a year at least in arenas, that I got angry that I wasn't getting my hit. I wasn't getting the endorphins of laughter. They were booing me. I was being cheated out of what I came here to do, make you laugh, and I get off on that.
Gotcha.
So finally I called my manager. What did I do? I said, hey man, I can't do this anymore. Why not? It's not fun anymore. Again, it's not money. I was getting a lot of money to do that. I said, I can't do this anymore, man. It's just not fun. I was having fun, and these people hate me. Now, this is before Richie Pryor. I was watching Richie Pryor. I was watching Lenny Bruce. I was watching George Carlin, but they weren't really famous, and they were getting the same crap I was getting, but they were in it for the laughs and the fun and the money. And I was in it just for the laughs and the fun. So that's like, you got to think about that. So that's what kept them going. I want this paycheck. I'm staying here. Whatever, whatever it was. So I called him and he said, my agent said, all right, well, and it was Woody. It was Woody's manager. So, I mean, he knows comedy. He said, well, look, why don't you go join Second City? They're doing what Lenny is doing and Pryor is doing and Carl is doing, but they own the theater. So join them. So I auditioned and that got me into acting. And then I was trapped into the money game because I was making a lot of money and I forgot about show business. Improv was fine. That was because it's still in my head, my stuff, you're improvising. But when you're trapped with money, you start to get an apartment, and you get a car, and then you get better cars because now it's competition about cars. I mean, I would be on TV shows where the stars would gather at the end of each shot, they would talk to each other. So I joined, and I just get in there. And what are they talking about? Oh, I got this new GPS thing, it's blah, blah. No, it's part of the dashboard. We got a new car and they've got it in the dashboard.
The old keeping up with the Joneses, right? You got to keep up with the Joneses.
Well, I couldn't. So they would turn
right?
to me and they would say, what do you got, Larry? And I'd say, well, I just bought oh, you bought one. And that was the last time they would talk to me. Everybody else had GPS in the dashboard already. And I had bought just a little thing. I mean, come on, man. So, I mean, it's just, just icky. I don't like those people.
So, Larry, let's get into the fourth season of Seinfeld, where there's this 2-part episode called The Pilot, where Jerry and George get the green light to produce Jerry, the pilot for the series, based on their, as everybody knows, they're nothing kind of a life. And you end up playing the iconic character, Tom Pepper, who's the actor hired to play Kramer in this pilot of Jerry, right? And so tell us a little bit about that experience, which went on to become one of the best viewed episodes in television history.
I didn't know that. I don't know that. Is that true?
Well, it certainly had, I think at the time, about 30 something million viewers. At the time.
That, right. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Well, I mean, people know me as Tom Pepper and stuff, but again, man, he wasn't iconic when I was doing it. I don't even know what that, I didn't know that word existed around me or what I play. But I do know that when I do these short things, because I'm dyslexic, I take very short roles, but they stand out, So I know as a kid, people were taking pictures of me. So it must be me, something about me. I have no idea. I know my personality doesn't attract people, but I guess me and a character does. So there was no big deal. They weren't that, they were. I just went in because I liked the role. The role was really good. And one of the things about getting the role that I really thought was really brilliant on the production end was when they said, well, first of all, I knew Michael Richards years before he did Seinfeld.
Played Kramer famously, of course.
Yes. Yeah, because we look alike. We look like brothers. So we were always being cast we would always be auditioning for the same thing. So we would start seeing one another. So we would talk and, hey, blah, 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 blah. And then finally we were cast as brothers in a restaurant sitcom. I forgot what it was. Well, we robbed the place. We played two gangsters who robbed the place. And so we became friends over that, although we have totally different ideas of what's funny. Because in the sitcom, there's a thing where we're escaping and we're driving in a truck. We're driving in a flatbed truck away. But it's just a studio shot, in the cab, with a green screen behind him. So he's driving and we have this dialogue. And the dialogue is funny, humorous. It's Seinfeld. But he wanted to do it one way and I wanted to do it another way. He wants to do it over the top and I want to do it, I go under, he goes over. So it was a weird argument we were having while we were rehearsing, privately we would talk and we would argue. And I would love to have a recording of that argument that we would argue about what's funny and what's not, about two guys who are really funny, but on totally different ends. So when it got to shooting the scene, we got really mad at one another. No, that's not funny. Let me say this and then you say that. Why don't you do this? And it was, come on, man. So when we got on the set to actually shoot it on the day, the director would say, you know, run it. And we were each trying to edge each other out. It was a silly thing. And he said, all right, look, let's just do it the way it's written, and I'll direct you, and you're doing it my way. And that's what we did. So it's just both of us just thrown out. But okay, so when I got there to do Michael, to imitate Michael, I really wanted to do him a service, Michael, not Kramer. I wanted to say, you know, hey, he's my friend. I gotta. But what the production did was so brilliant. Was they said, well, we want you to do the audition for the role of Kramer. They sent me a video of the episode that the audition was about. In other words, the scene that I did when I came in and did the audition and did with the couch with the pillows, that thing, that was an episode of Seinfeld that Kramer was in, that they shot.
Mm-hmm.
And they used that in this new iteration of Seinfeld. They sent it to me. So I could see what the character did that was written that I was going to do, only I saw Kramer doing it. So all I did was I just watched that about 100 times, and I wasn't acting at all. I was aping exactly what Kramer was doing. It was just visual memory. That was
which was not an easy thing to do, because Kramer's kind of a one of a kind. So even to try to do what a one of a kind, quirky kind of guy, and you got the mannerisms down. You got them down.
Well, but that's what makes it easier. I don't know if I could do you that way, because you're not that.
I'm not quirky. I'm not quirky enough.
Exactly.
But you don't see me off camera. You know, you might like, I could never play this guy, Eli Marcus.
Well, it doesn't really matter. You're not quirky enough for me to do. I mean, right now, I could tell you when I was a friend of Michael, if you asked me to just imitate Michael, I could imitate him. He's kind of that way, but quieter.
Yeah.
Off stage.
Yeah.
But he's still quirky. And some people you can pick up like that. Some politicians, you know, have a lot of, well, like, look, Trump. Okay. Now, all the late night comedians are doing Trump. They stink. They can't do him. But every once in a while, somebody can do Trump, but it's rare because he's really hard, because his hands are mechanisms, you know, but hold it right there. But it's his hands. I don't know what this is all about. I can cartoon him. So it depends on the person's quirkiness. And so I latched onto his quirkiness from the video, and that's all I gave them. And I was hired because of that. But when I was auditioning, you know, you have 10 people auditioning. Nobody looked like Kramer. Nobody was coming in and out of the door. I hated that. They would say, come in the door. Larry David would say that to me. I didn't know who he was, but I was auditioning. Okay, then I would go blah, 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 pillows. And then it was, all right, thank you very much. You know, and I'm just about to leave. And there's one guy in the end, Larry David, who I didn't know who he was. Bald guy at the end with glasses. He would say, go in and out of the door like Kramer. And I auditioned 5 times for that. Nobody looked like him. Nobody came in and out of the door, because he would sit out there, you know. And when I went out the door, you go out the door into the waiting room where all those rest of the people are auditioning, you know, and I would, you know, look around, hi, and then I would go in like Kramer. But when I was sitting out there and people were auditioning, nobody came in and out of the door. So I was the only one.
Yep.
But I had to audition 5 times. So I was going to PO'd, and I was going to hit him. I really was. I was going to hit him.
Can I ask you a question, Larry? You go into an audition, right? The average person going into an audition, I would think to them, it's almost like a do or die situation. Do you have the tension that the average actor has?
I get nervous because I want to do my best.
If you don't get the role, you know, it's not the end of the world.
You tell me. I go in and I got it, and they say, thank you very much. We'll get in touch. After 3 days, if you know, you don't get the call, I just dump it and I go on. Okay. However, I always call and say, when is the show that I auditioned for? I don't know how I say it, but what I mean is, when is the show that I auditioned for going to be on? And then I watch it. And then I watch it and I see who got the part. And then I sit there and I go, no, they didn't hire me and he got it. What the? I mean, and then for like maybe
Not
5
possible.
minutes. Yeah,
Not
5
me.
minutes, I get like weird.
I'm going to ask you an unfair question because we're getting to the end of the show, but I got to squeeze this in because you were in this incredible film, Escape from Alcatraz. I got to ask you about your experience with Clint Eastwood. We don't have a lot of time, but please give us some insight into that. How was it like working with him?
Well, he's a worker. I mean, what I learned from him is just do the work. And he works, and I was working
Get it done.
with, yeah, get it done.
Yeah.
He's very serious. He's got a lot of, because he wanted to be a director. He's always wanted to be a director. Yeah. And the director that he learned from was Don Siegel, who was directing Escape from Alcatraz. So I got to see how Clint Eastwood works with a director. I mean, he's such a big star. You work with him. You don't tell him what to do. You discuss things.
Were you in awe at all when you're in a role with someone that big?
No. I'm in awe for a couple of seconds or maybe a day, but you outgrow it, man. I mean,
What tip can you give the average person in terms of turning off that fear?
Make friends real fast. That's what got me through Alcatraz. Clint Eastwood likes he likes workers. He likes sincere work. I don't know how to explain it. He likes truth and honesty in the work. I don't know about off camera, but on the set, on the floor, as they call it, the floor is where the actors and the camera are going to work.
Sacred ground, get the job done. Don't goof off.
Exactly. And he's all business, but he's a very funny guy. Like, here's a piece of trivia. Clint Eastwood is a savant of Lear's limericks. He has in his head thousands of Lear, there once was a girl from blah, blah, from Nantucket,
Yeah.
He has thousands of them in, but to answer your question about, the fear of the awe, is Don Siegel is not like him at all. Don Siegel was like my grandfather, like a good great grandfather. And he treated me like a grandson, Don Siegel, because I was so naive. I would keep on asking. It was the first big movie I'd ever done. So I was a naive kid. I was right out of improvisation and stand-up. So he would just, well, go over there and stand over there. And why? Well, I need somebody in the shot. So he would just use me as just like an extra.
A prop.
Yeah, a prop. Yeah, exactly. But he would do it with such graciousness and such friendliness, like my grandfather would say, hey, Larry, come here. He would always call me Larry. Hey, Larry, come here. What? Just get in this shot here. Get in the background there. Why? What am I doing? I don't know. I just need somebody in the shot. Get in there. Just like a grandfather. So he was so friendly to me all the time and treated me just like his grandson. I would say, why are you doing this? Why, because I wanted to learn how to direct and the movie. That's why I was there. Not for Clint Eastwood specifically, and not for him. Oh, I want to see a movie made, how that comes together. So I would stand next to him all the time and I would go, okay, so why are you doing this shot? And he'd go, I don't know, Larry, I'd probably get fired for this one, but I don't know. Let's try it. He would just say things like that, or, go over there. What do you do? Well,
classic stories you got. I'll tell you, something you said to me the first time we talked may live in infamy. Something you said to me may be iconically quoted. What you said to me is you said, when the hard part is over, then the hard part starts. Tell the listening audience what you mean by that.
I said it to Bobby Newirth, who was the road manager of Bob Dylan for years and years. He's a great guy, Bob. And he's really so smart. I always like talking to him. And I was talking to him one day, and he was talking, and we came up, I had just done a set at the Troubadour, and he was there. So we after the show, and I was talking to him, and he was saying about how, and they were booing me, the audience and he said, how do you get through that? And I said, well, I spent years trying to get that good. because I had been around for a while by the time I got to the Troubadour, but they didn't like it anyway. So, some audiences. And I said, well, I had tried for years to get that good. And then they come in. So the hard part is over and you get up on stage and now comes the hard part. You got to deal with that. And it's not just once, it's twice. So I was talking, I've had a lot of booze, man. So the hard part's over. Now comes up, because everything that you want to everything that you want to do takes work. It's called process, but I call it the hard part. But basically it's just process. To be a comedian is one thing to make you laugh if we're hanging around having beers. It's another thing to get on the stage and have people, pay $15 minimum a piece to laugh at you. It's not the same. There's a lot going on. There's, for me, it was 6 months. For some people, it's 4 years. By the way, your second album takes a year if you're a stand-up comedian. Why? Because your first album is 10 years worth of laughs that you've been gathering and formulating into one really solid, half hour or an hour? You've got all that stuff. But now it comes out and you have to come out with another album in 1 year, man. That's not like saving up all these laughs and coming out with one album. So the hard part's over. 10 years of getting your first album. And then the hard part now is getting your second album. And it's probably harder because there's more pressure. You had no pressure in the beginning. You knew you were bad. You knew you were learning. Now you're a pro and you got an album out. Now come out with an album. All that pressure and expectation and people, their mortgages are riding on your next album. And that's the thing I don't like about Hollywood. Everybody's got a mortgage to pay. That's how they trap you. Goodbye.
So Larry, we're ending the show here in about a minute. Can you tell the audience what they have to look forward to, what your upcoming projects are, how they can learn more about you, find you?
Okay, so I'm trying to change my whole thing from TV and all the things that you know me for. I want to do my own thing now. That's how I started, and that's where I'm going to end. So I started out as a stand-up comedian, and I'm going to end with telling my own stories. And a lot of the stories are about my life in show business and also my life with my parents and my life with my girlfriends and my life with my friends. So that's what I'm going to do, and make my own movies. So go to thereallarryhankin.com, thereallarryhankin.com. That's one word, 2 L's, REALLARRY, but one word, reallarryhankin.com. And on there, I'm going to, I just finished a movie. It's called How to Become an Outlaw. And it's a study I did over 8 years of a character that I invented. And finally, it came to fruition, and I put it all together into a 58-minute film. It's called How to Become an Outlaw. It's a study of a character. It's a character study, and it's really funny. So that's a film. And then after that, I'm going to do a 1 hour HBO special podcast. It has nothing to do with HBO. I'm just telling you that's the kind of thing it's going to be. It's going to be me, but it's going to be for the internet. Special, an hour special. And that's the next thing. So look for that. So those 2 things, but go to my website, thereallarryhankin.com. And there's also my paintings on there. My other film shorts are on there. That'll be on there, the How to Become an Outlaw.
Larry, I'll tell you something. They don't make them like you anymore. Thank you so much for being a guest on the motivation. They broke the mold. You are one of a kind. I love you. You're great.
Right,
Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for tuning in. We love our listeners, and we believe you have greatness within you. If you like The Motivation Show, we appreciate you subscribing, rating, and reviewing us. Check out EliMarcusSuccess.com to hear more inspiring shows and to read our motivational blog. That's EliMarcusSuccess.com.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.